figured I'd come by and one, just give a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. But I also thought you guys might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind, because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya. Sir.
Senator Garrett Haake from NBC News. You have repeatedly suggested the only reason Kamala Harris didn't pick Josh Shapiro to be her running mate is because of his Jewish faith. Do you have any evidence to support that assertion, that a person who's married to a Jewish man is somehow anti-Semitic or bowing to anti-Semites?
Well, I reject the premise of the question. I did not say that that was the only reason that Kamala Harris didn't choose Josh Shapiro. So you should, take a little less DNC talking points when you ask your questions and ask a real question. I have suggested that Kamala Harris was motivated, or at least her party was motivated, by anti-Semitism. And the evidence that I offer for that is what dozens of Democratic activists said in the run-up to her selecting her nominee. There were multiple grassroots activists, multiple media personalities, multiple people with influence in the Democrat Party who suggested that she should not choose Josh Shapiro because of his ethnic background. And look, I don't care what your ethnic background is. I know Donald Trump doesn't care what your ethnic background is. I do not want to live in a country where we're choosing who the next VP is based on skin color or ethnic heritage. Choose based on merit. And the fact that so many prominent leaders in the far left felt empowered to talk about Shapiro's ethnic heritage is a disgrace. And I think it's a scandal for the Democrat Party. Yes, I do.
JD Vance is going on the offensive. I don't know what got into JD Vance, but I'm liking this more confrontational, more look, like give me the evidence, give me the empirical, calling people out. I like this style that Vance has been adopting recently, and I think it works to their advantage, because for the fact is, it just seems like on the Democratic ticket, they just want to rally. They don't want to have any actual policy positions. I don't know how many days it's been since Kamala Harris has been the presumptual nominee, and she still does not have a policy platform on her official website. Now, I've been calling this out for a while now. Now I'm just starting to realize, I just saw some of the bigger channels, political channels out there starting to notice as well. So I'm happy that more people are asking that question. Yo, do you want us to elect you without seeing your policies, without seeing pen to paper what you actually want to do? All I see is her campaign managers saying to media, oh no, she disavowed her position in 2019. She disavowed her position in 2020. But Kamala Harris hasn't put anything to pen to paper. And last time I checked, if it ain't on paper, it ain't real, right? Someone say I can give you a job, but if they don't give you the job offer, it's all promises at that point. And promises can be broken. We all know that. So I just wanted to highlight something, because it seems like the mainstream media is really trying to protect Kamala Harris. Like, even when JD Vance, I saw in the intro, JD Vance showed up, he trolls the media a little bit. Hey, I'll wait for you guys because, I know Kamala Harris doesn't take questions, right? Hinting at the fact. And I like this style from JD Vance, because the point is, and it's hitting at a lot of sentiments that a lot of people feel about the media, is that it is inconsistent. This is why independents don't trust the media, and Republicans definitely don't trust the media. Only Democrats trust the media, and Democrats trust it at 58%. So 58% of Democratic voters trust the media. And the fact that the media is not covering Kamala Harris, not calling out, hey, where's your lack of policy positions? How can you say you're prepared for a debate when the other candidate, you don't have any policies to go in contrast with against the candidate's policies, right? This is why they make everything about race. This is why they're making everything about personality. This is why they're trying to call into question JD Vance's history, his lineage, making fun of his military record, which is weird, by the way. But that's the guy who says is weird. Apparently, a guy who's being accused, actually not accused, there's evidence to suggest that, actually there is evidence that he dropped out before he was supposed to get deployed to Iraq. And he got demoted for that. Technically, he's a master sergeant, right? But hey, he's running on falsehoods. But people don't find that weird. And it goes to a big problem that I noticed in our politics, is that it seems like a large percentage of Americans vote based on emotionalism. The strategy of linking the media to inconsistencies I think is making ground. That's just my thoughts. Let's hear yours after this clip.
He did extraordinarily well. I don't think you could script an answer, and that wasn't scripted. That was him.
No.
Better than taking one of your vulnerabilities, which was that out of context comment, and turning it back on the media politely and saying what I'm offended by is grocery prices. And then he's created a theme. He said, I'm offended that Kamala Harris won't take questions. What do you notice? If you go on his social media, he has a countdown. 14 days since she hasn't taken questions, 15 days. During Faulkner Focus in the gaggle, he said, Kamala Harris needs to take questions. Media, where are you? During this press conference, how smart of him to take questions and put the heat on Kamala Harris to do the same. The only thing I would change is him saying he would wait to debate Tim Walz and Trump saying, I want to wait to debate Kamala. Kamala is going to win the week of the DNC. The DNC is scripted reality. She's going to exit the DNC with a third of these 100 days over. You've got 60 plus days. I wouldn't wait to debate. I'd say, I don't care who's the nominee. I'll debate you tomorrow.
As you see, people are starting to take notice of him calling the media disgraceful, pointing out the inconsistency. I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people because I pointed out many times on this channel, I think some of my biggest, I guess, attack lines, my biggest talking points is how inconsistent the media treats candidates based on their political affiliation. And I point to the fact that majority of U.S. journalists are Democrats. Majority of U.S. journalists donate to the Democratic Party. And I tie in the motive for why the media acts inconsistency between the both parties. And my question to Americans who are watching this, questions to Americans within the sound of my voice, is the fact that how can you trust somebody who's literally ideologically incentivized, politically incentivized to paint their candidate in the best light and to paint the other candidate in the worst light? That's why I opened up with that intro video of him mocking the media. And then in the next clip in the intro, him calling out the MSNBC reporter because he's talking in the framing of a DNC operative, aka he's talking about for himself. He's not talking for the American people. He's not talking for any constituency. He's talking for himself because he himself is on average a Democrat, an American Democrat. And this is the ideological like hypocrisy and dissonance that I try to point out to a lot of American people. A lot of American people blame the media for division in the country, right? Because of the fact that they whip up such division because they're so ideological. Black on black crime makes up the majority of crime against black victims. Yet what gets highlighted nationally across all the major news outlets when an interracial crime happens and it happens to be a white perpetrator, it's all over the news. But when a black man kills another black man, that's not all over the news. It is on local news, and that's it. That's where it stays. But the minute something fits their narrative, they push it out and try to make sure everyone in America sees it. And this is the problem I think we have in our current politics is that the distribution of knowledge, the distribution, I can't say that word, of information is literally being gatekept. 5 out of the 6 major news companies out there, 5 of them lean left. And only 1 leans right, which is Fox News. And I think that they try to frame things in a limited perspective. And this is why I said the media of modern day is not about informing the populace anymore. They're not of the people anymore. They're of corporations. They're for themselves, and they're for their party. And they're trying to essentially create a framing of events. They're trying to create a perception in the minds of the American populace. And this is what I rail against every day on my channel, if you don't notice the theme here. Right. So here, I'm going to play this 1-minute clip. JD Vance is going to really call out the media about, hey, yo, it's been 18 days, 17 days. Y'all still haven't called out Kamala Harris for her inconsistencies. And I'm pointing out, I'm painting the picture of how their Democratic offer is. 97% of U.S. journalists are Democrats. Of course, they won't call this out. So it's up to them to call it out. That's why I think that many people, many conservatives are saying, yo, just debate her, because that's the only way she's going to get asked tough questions if she goes on the debate, because the media ain't going to ask her. And I want to make this crystal clear for every American watching this, is that you can't trust the mainstream media anymore. People like to pretend the mainstream media is objective. They're not objective. They have political, ideological motive to not ask tough questions, to give her softball interviews. But then they're going to get mad if Trump goes to Tucker Carlson and say, oh, he's getting a softball interview. But that's all y'all guys do. And the only time you give someone a hard question is if there's somehow going against the Democratic narrative or the Democratic's playbook. For instance, when Joe Biden was in office, they want to ask him tough questions then. And it showed the contrast. When the Democrats think someone doesn't serve them, the media acts as their attack dog. And right now, the media is acting as Kamala's shield, even though years ago they called into question her viability for a national campaign because they said that she only knows how to talk to her base, aka Democrats. She don't know how to talk to people in the middle, and she don't know how to talk to Republicans. Maybe this is why the media doesn't want to give her interviews, or she doesn't want to do interviews with the media, but the media still has a favorable view of Kamala Harris, which is strange to me.
And I want to just point this out before we let the media ask me some questions, that I think it's really disgraceful, both for Kamala Harris, but also for a lot of the American media that participates in this stuff, to have a person who's been the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party for 17 days and refuses to take a single question from the American media. Now, it's well known, of course, that President Trump and I will go anywhere. We'll answer any question because we respect the American people enough to actually ask them for their vote rather than sit in front of a teleprompter, read scripted lines, and run away from every reporter and every actual citizen who's going to decide this election. I think it's a scandal, and I think the vice president should be ashamed of herself. So hopefully our reporters out there in the audience will start doing their job a little bit and going and demanding that Kamala Harris actually answer to the American people. And what should she answer for? And I think it's an important thing to point out here before I kick it over to you guys for some questions. Well, one thing she should answer for, we're in a great American manufacturing facility here, and I appreciate y'all showing up and standing behind me. But one thing we know is that you cannot manufacture in this country unless you have access to low-cost power. And we happen to be sitting on the Saudi Arabia of natural gas in this country.
Which is true. Right? And this is the funny part about what they don't explain about their energy policy is that there's cost, there's trade-offs to everything.
And I want to just point this.
Gas is one of the cheapest energy sources. You get more bang for your buck, more bang for your energy if you use fossil fuels. That's the advantage of fossil fuels. This is why China is building a bunch of fuel pipes, coal-powered. I forget. They're still heavily invested in fossil fuels. But the media will tell you, "Oh my God, it's bad for the planet." But they don't explain, okay, how is global warming a problem when there's stats that show that there's no correlation with gas, fracking, and global warming? Because as we ramped up during the 1970s, we used a lot more fossil fuels than we use now. And you're saying last year was the hottest year ever? When we burned more coal in the 1970s than we're doing now? The contribution rates of carbon monoxide for global warming is 0.04%. So that looked like hysteria to me. I said, okay, so you want us to stop everything when the world's only producing, or humans are only responsible for that 0.04% of carbon emissions, and that's what you fear? Make it make sense, right? But this is the kind of things they want you to get rattled about, and this is why I say a lot of the political movement in the left is about emotionalism. Shout out to Greg Foreman. If Kamala's response to policy criticism is shut up and vote for me, or you must want Trump to win, and then her campaign will implode quickly. It's hilarious that the left is offended that the Astro coup candidate doesn't respect their opinions. This is a pro-Palestine, apparently a pro-Palestine person interfered with Kamala's speech, and her pushback was, I guess you want Trump to win. Emotionalism. See, they can only get away with a comment like that if they're fear-mongering about something. Here, let's take a look.
He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
What is so bad if Donald Trump wins the election? Like, that's a question I want someone who disagrees with me to answer in the comment section. Project 2025, what's so bad about Project 2025? And why are you so sure that Donald Trump is going to be the one to enact it when Donald Trump has not even endorsed it? Why would Donald Trump push Project 2025 when he has Agenda 47? Then that's my problem with the left. You trying to lie to me. You trying to deceive me. You trying to make Trump's platform something that he's not even tied to. And this is what I'm talking about, the mainstream media. This is why I call out the mainstream media. Because most people who criticize me or who are against Trump, you're regurgitating flawed talking points from political partisans, from political propagandists, from liberal propagandists. That's what you're getting your news from. So you're telling them, you're repeating, you're regurgitating their talking points to me, and then when I ask you questions about it, you can't answer you can't answer follow-ups, or you start making stuff up. Oh, go ahead then, vote for Project 2025. And you know what my response will be every single time? Nah, I'm voting for Agenda 47. Oh, you're gonna vote for so we're supposed to vote for a convicted felon? I'm voting for Agenda 47. I'm voting based on policy. I don't care about the personality. The personality takes less priority for me than the policy. Proven president. He's already done 4 years. COVID was a freak accident. While your guy, Joe Biden and Harris, they're managing the economy for 4 years, and we've been dealing with inflation ever since they got into office. But somehow y'all want to try to put the blame on Trump. You're just regurgitating liberal talking points. If Donald Trump was a racist or a white supremacist, there's no way he would be in these photos with these black people. It's amazing how he wasn't racist. Whoopi used to love him until he decided to run as a Republican. And I don't understand how we allowed like political discrimination in this country. A man decides, yeah, I'm gonna run as the political party, and all of a sudden he's racist. A large percentage of the adult population lacks basic emotional control. And this is one of my biggest talking points against our current political culture, is that years teachers been teaching social emotional learning, self-esteem over self-control. And this is how we get this emotionally based politics that we're dealing with today, because it's a downstream from our culture of coddling, of bubble wrap parenting. I don't want my kids to go through anything. Gentle parenting. Gentle parenting doesn't teach kids self-control. It may give them a lot of self-esteem, but self-esteem is bad, because what self-esteem makes you? Entitled, cocky. That's what happens when you have too much self-esteem. I think our culture needs to be based on self-control. It takes a lot of self-control to self-criticize yourself. It takes self-control to reflect on your actions and to decide, hey, what I really did was a good thing? Self-esteem will teach you, no, you should be confident. You should be proud of yourself. You're perfect. You don't need to change anything about yourself, which is a lie. It's a lie. You're not perfect. No one's perfect. And this is why only people who think they're perfect can run on personality, right? Kamala's doing her fake Southern accent,
Hold
right?
on. You know what? Here, hold on. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November.
November, right? See, like emotionalism, right? But when you ask the tough questions, hey, what's your policies? Hey, how you see education? How can you justify keeping the Department of Education? For instance, that's one talking point I've been hearing online and off the video. How can you justify Donald Trump wanting to remove the Department of Education? I say, yo, if you got a product where before you bought the product, you were better off without the product, and after you got the product, you were worse with the product, would you agree with me that we should cancel the service and the product? You'll tell me yes. Okay, when the Department of Education was created, before it was created, we were number 1 in education. After the Department of Education was created, we were number 24 in 2008. I don't know about now, but I bet it's lower now, or we're hovering around there now. So I ask you, how is it that we got a worse education after you created the Department of Education than before you created the Department of Education? That means what it tells me is the government is not managing the curriculum of the general population, because 76% of our American kids go to public school, goes to government schools. Yeah, y'all have the gall to wag our fingers about how Democrats care about education. Democrats do not care about education. Democrats care about the teachers union. That's it. At the expense of the student and parent. When in reality, a politician is supposed to care about the American citizen over a union, because your union represents an interest group. And you can't take the side of an interest group over the general population. I expect a politician to take on to be behind the American parent and the students over a teachers union, because of the fact that education is supposed to serve the American general populace, not your own ends. This is why a lot of the curriculum in these public schools are heavily favored towards the Democratic Party. Why teachers tend to be Democrats. Teachers overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Yet Yet y'all don't take that into account that, hey, maybe I'm getting my information from a biased source, but y'all like to call me biased. But all the information sources you get are biased. So are you really making an argument, or are you just trying to deflect from the criticism that I have about the mainstream media? But hey, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with me about the bias of the mainstream media? Do you agree with JD Vance calling out the mainstream media for their inconsistencies of coverage between the Republican ticket and the Democratic ticket? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.